Gus, thank you for joining us on Total Rugby. You've just been in a conference talking about the State of the Union. What were the key points, do you think, to emerge? What are the key issues for the game going forward?
Well, I think the most relevant and worrying thing is the global calendar. I think that's something that we have to address. How we have to do that, again, we are working very hard in the IRB to just try to lead that. But unfortunately, as you know, there are stakeholders in the game. There's private equity and as well. So it's tough to get everyone on the table and be happy about it. So there's a massive challenge in the next months or the next year, to be fair with you, before the World Cup, because then it's all World Cup mode. But I think it's very important that we start addressing some issues and some points, because if we don't do something now, we're going to have some consequences, and the players will have consequences, because they cannot play so much rugby, and we need to address that.
I was thinking about that, because for the Pumas based in Europe, they play a European season.
Impossible, yeah. Then
Rugby Championship, hardly any time off. Someone like Le Guizemont, is he just playing 12 months rugby?
Well, yes, but we managed in June. We haven't played him for the June tests, so we sacrificed Argentinian international rugby, or not sacrificed, but we understood that it was better for Juan and for the other, or Corcho Fernández Lobe or Juan Hernández. You know, we just put them aside to rest, because they need at least 7 to 8 weeks to rest. Again, they are resting, and then they go into peak again in July, August. So how do you manage that? You can do it 2 years as a transitional period, but you cannot carry on doing that. You burn them out.
And how are the preparations for the Super Rugby team in Argentina coming along?
Well, we are expecting on this Thursday, hopefully, to have finally the final how to put it, the final confirmation for Argentina to start in 2016 franchise in Super Rugby. I think it's the last step to start the complete pathway of Argentinian rugby from the grassroots to a professional game.
Would that mean the professional players, obviously the top players, would move back to Argentina?
Hopefully. That we need centralized contracts. Another issue of the conference today, when you have centralized contracts like the All Blacks, Australia, South Africa, Wales and other parts, then Scotland, then things are much easier to manage.
How much is Olympic inclusion exciting the people in Argentina?
Well, it's exciting. I think we are all excited around the world. I think the Olympics in Rio would be something great, and we work so much for that. So I'm really excited about the moment that will kick off. Again,
tough to qualify.
It's going to be really tough, yeah. The whole thing, but again, for rugby is great. Argentina has a lot at the moment. We have, again, 2016 apparently is the whole. We have a World Cup in 2015. We have to organize a Super Rugby team in 2016. We have to organize an Olympic, if we qualify an Olympic team for. So I can tell you the next 12 or 18 months they're very active for us.
And the Pumas, they won last weekend, tight match. They lost just a tight match before, but generally upwards.
Well, we're very happy. We played on the weekend. We played with 5 under-20s, and that never happened before. Against Scotland, there were 13 players injured, and I'm not saying Scotland played really well, and they're playing really well. But again, we play for the first time. It's not that the same names repeated all over again. I was watching the commentating on Sky Sport. They had not a clue who the players were. So that means that not only that they haven't done the homework, but that they had no idea who we were playing. And that you tell me it's funny, but it's at the end of the day that's good, because that means that Argentina has depth, and we are having new players in the rugby team.
Now, what are you up to these days, Gus? You still look fit enough to play?
No, I wouldn't run the bus to catch a bus. No, I'm working very hard with all the strategic planning of the union. We started 7 years, as you know, 8 years ago. We started talking about all these plans, and they were like a dream, and now we're just implementing them. So it's quite scary. A lot of adrenaline at the moment. We need a stadium to play in 2016. So again, If you look, okay, one thing was to write them down on a PowerPoint or on just on a computer, or just read, oh yes, we'd like to play Super Rugby, we'd like to play Rugby Championship, we'd love to play Olympic Games, but now we're in. So we changed the whole structure of the union. We have 150 employees. It's changed. I think it's changed, and now we have to keep the change going.
You need lots of dollars.
Not only, yeah, but also I think money is very important. Resources are important, yes, of course. But the management of professional sport is as important. You can have all the money if you want, but if you don't manage it well, look at all the professional clubs in England the last 15 years, how they went up and down and lost how much money. Again, you can have all the money you want, but if you don't manage it well, so you need focus, you need to have a good business plan, you need to have a good technical plan, a good game plan, and the grassroots are so important.
Last question. If there was one law you could change, what would you change?
Of the game? I would change that you can only tackle below the waist.
Why?
Because that would bring a complete different dynamics to the game. You think of it. Today the ruck is the most controversial part of the game, apart from the scrum. That's something completely different, but could be addressed. The rucking system at the moment, if you think about it, one tackles low, the other one takes the hands. The offloads of tackling below the waist, you can have a much more dynamic games and less rucks, or rucks that are completely dynamic.
That would be interesting.
A good one.
And did you always put the ball in straight, Gus?
Never.